Welcome everyone to the UN International Day of Peace, and when we were gifted the World Peace Bell back in 2006, it was actually before this, 2004, and one of our requirements was to remind people why it's here, and this meant having events from time to time, and one of the events that we had to have is today, and it's the day when the UN Secretary General also rings the World Peace Bell in New York. So hopefully World Peace Bell chapters around the world will be ringing their bells today. But anyway, there's a message from the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Here it is. Upon taking up my duties as Secretary General in January of this year, my very first act was to issue an appeal for peace. A call on citizens, governments and leaders everywhere to put peace first. The International Day of Peace, observed every year on 21st of September, embodies our shared aspiration to end the needless suffering caused by armed conflict. It offers a moment for peoples of the world to acknowledge the ties that bind them together, irrespective of their countries of origin. It is the day on which the United Nations calls for a 24-hour global ceasefire. Let's hope it happens. With the hope that one day of peace can lead to another, and ultimately to the stilling of the guns. Yet there is more to achieving peace than laying down weapons. True peace requires building bridges, combating discrimination, and standing up for human rights for all the world's peoples. That is why this year's theme for the International Day of Peace is Together for Peace, Respect, Safety and Dignity for All, focusing particularly on the plight of refugees and migrants throughout the world. Our obligation as an international community is to ensure that everyone forced to flee their homes receives the protection which they are entitled under international law. Our duty as a human family is to replace fear with kindness. Let us remember that millions of vulnerable members of our society, many of whom have lost everything, need our understanding and assistance. Let us strategize together about what we can do to help them. Let us recognize the many ways in which they contribute to and strengthen their host countries and communities. And let us redouble our efforts to address the root cause of conflict, advance our work for the Sustainable Development Goals, and heighten our emphasis on preventing violence in the first place. By opening our hearts, joining hands and reaching out to refugees and migrants, we can move closer to attaining peace, prosperity and protection for all.
Can I give you the good news? New Zealand was one of the 51 states who signed last night for the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. Totally appropriate during the middle of the night, and 3 countries have already ratified, and the treaty will come into force when there are 50 states that have adopted that. So we're well on the way, including the Holy See and Palestine were some of the countries this morning who signed during the night. So that's a really wonderful thing to celebrate on this day. And I also just wondered if we could have a moment's silence to remember, in particular today, the refugees from Myanmar and what is going on in terms of Mexico, Vanuatu with earthquakes and the cyclones that are ravaging the place, but also to remember what's happening in Korea and how deterrence is not working, especially with a belligerent President of the United States addressing the UN yesterday, talking about totally destroying Korea within the UN, which is the confines of a place for discussion, dialogue, peace, and not threatening to annihilate a country. So we just have a moment's silence for all those who are suffering as refugees and affected by what's happening with the planet at this moment.
Do the honours.